This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Mark Martin. The word pandemic is being used in connection with the coronavirus, despite the number of reported cases actually dropping. CBN's Dale Hurd has the story and explains why health officials are so concerned.
2 charter flights carrying 340 Americans from a cruise ship that was quarantined in Japan have landed in the United States. At least 40 Americans who tested positive for coronavirus are staying in Japan. The New York Times reports 14 passengers who were believed to have been well before they were evacuated from the ship were found to be infected before boarding the planes. Dr. Anthony Fauci of the National Institutes of Health warned that if leaders can't get control of the situation, it will be a pandemic.
Technically speaking, the WHO wouldn't be calling this a global pandemic, but it certainly is on the verge of that happening reasonably soon unless containment is more successful than it is right now.
In Jerusalem, rabbis gathered at the Western Wall for special prayers to stop the spread of the coronavirus. The Chinese government claims the number of new cases has dropped to a 3-week low, with the death toll set at almost 1,800 and more than 70,000 cases reported worldwide. But is the actual number much, much higher? 760 million Chinese, half the nation's population, is under lockdown.
Greater concern with regard just to this coronavirus alone is a secrecy and control of the Chinese Communist Party. Of course, this goes all the way back to the beginning of December. Didn't really start coming out until mid-January. By then, the epidemic had spread.
China now admits President Xi was aware of the coronavirus outbreak nearly 2 weeks before he first spoke publicly about it. And the government was still playing down its dangers. China says it may be forced to postpone its annual Party Congress in March because of the virus outbreak. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Floodwaters are drenching parts of Mississippi, including the state's capital. It's considered the worst flooding in 37 years. The Pearl River is continuing to rise in and around the city of Jackson, passing flood stage levels. Governor Tate Reeves declared a state of emergency. He warned residents it will be days yet before the area is out of the woods and the floodwaters start to recede.
We do not anticipate this situation to end anytime soon. If you have not evacuated yet, we urge you to do so.
I'm worried. I'm really worried, and it's a lot to lose because, like I say, those people down there, I know they done lost a lot of stuff in their houses, A couple of neighbors are already evacuated out, and I'm talking to my husband now if this is something that we might, think about doing.
In one Jackson neighborhood, people paddled canoes, kayaks, and small fishing boats to check on their houses and give a lift to other neighbors. A university in the heartland of America holds a sex workshop in the name of education that most people would find hard to believe. I spoke with conservative cultural commentator Todd Starnes about the story. Todd, there's an unbelievable story out of Indiana about a sex fest and workshop at the University of Indiana in Bloomington. What do you know about that?
Yeah, way too much, unfortunately. This was a pretty terrible story, and there are a lot of things that happened at this sex festival on the campus of Indiana University that we can't even really talk about on television or in front of just about anybody. I mean, it's just really horrific, some of the things that were happening. I wrote about this in my column the other day, and I said basically they were doing things that would have made the citizens of Sodom and Gomorrah blush. We're talking about, quite frankly, government-sanctioned pornography and filth on a publicly funded university campus. It is absolutely outrageous.
Well, it is so disturbing. Like you said, we almost don't want to even talk about it, but we think that parents need to be warned about what's happening on college campuses in the name of education. Todd, why do university leaders think something like this is higher learning and okay? Do you have any insights with that?
Well, a lot of these festivals, and it's not just Indiana University. These things are happening on publicly funded universities across the country, and many of them are done through LGBT-friendly organizations, and that's how they get away with a lot of this stuff. And the reality is that many of these university administrators are far leftist. They're also what I call sex and gender revolutionaries, and they're using these kinds of festivals to, quite frankly, indoctrinate students into what is, quite frankly, degenerate behavior.
There's a lot wrong with this story, and what is the lesson here for parents and students?
Well, the lesson is that we need to expose this kind of nonsense, and then we need to take action. The only reason we really knew about what happened at Indiana University is because a student actually posted it and exposed all of this on social media. So here's what needs to happen now. Every single taxpayer, every single alumni at Indiana University needs to get fired up. They need to contact their state lawmakers, and they need to demand that this university lose any kind of state funding they have that goes towards this kind of activity.
Let's talk big picture now. What does this say about where we are as a culture?
Well, I wrote a book about this called Culture Jihad: How to Stop the Left from Killing a Nation. We are in the throes of a massive culture war, and what happened at Indiana University is a classic example of this. But I also have a message in my book that when good people, good-hearted people, take a stand together, we can facilitate change. A couple of years ago, the University of Tennessee in Knoxville faced a similar situation. State lawmakers got involved, and they actually threatened to defund the university unless they stopped funding this debauchery. And sure enough, guess what happened? That's exactly what the university did.
Turning now to politics, there are reports the upcoming Nevada caucuses may be as chaotic as Iowa. Volunteers say there may be problems with last-minute apps and technology for counting the votes. The various candidates' campaigns say they don't still have basic information on how key parts of the process will work. We now have what's become considered a reliable early prediction about who could win the Democratic nomination for president. CBN News senior Washington correspondent Jennifer Wishon shows us this time-tested method.
What's motivating these Virginia college students to get up early on a cold winter morning?
Washington!
It's not Abe or even Elvis. Believe it or not, it's presidential politics. Washington and Lee University's mock convention kicks off with a parade of student delegations from each state and U.S. territory. They're preparing to weigh in on the Democratic presidential primary, and if history is any guide, their prediction will be powerful. WNL held its first mock convention in 1908. Since then, students have correctly predicted the nominee 20 out of 26 tries. Held every 4 years, the prestigious student-run event focuses on the party out of power in the White House.
And then we also write a platform, so it's not just picking the nominee, it's predicting the whole convention pretty much.
In 2016, students successfully predicted Trump would win the Republican nomination, but this year has presented unique challenges.
With Bloomberg entering the race late and just recently having his vast investment into campaign infrastructure start to really begin to show signs of success, as well as Biden's fall in Iowa and New Hampshire, things are a lot less sure.
Wes Culp is on the team that analyzes and adds to months of research compiled by student state chairs.
We have not left a single stone unturned.
And this year, after all their hard and some might call impossible work, students predict Senator Bernie Sanders will win the top prize, but not until the last second. They project Sanders will enter the national convention just shy of enough delegates to secure the nomination. Due to the crowded field of moderates, they think he'll win enough delegates on a second ballot. The complex process of figuring it all out is eye-opening for students.
It's been really fun to get politically active because I'm not politically active and learn something or two. I'll be the first person in my family to vote ever in the States. I'm a daughter of immigrants. So that's been really exciting to kind of just learn and do it in a really fun way with my friends.
It's been a unique experience where I've been able to kind of divulge and try to figure out,
everything that I believe in.
I think this organization is so great because it brings everyone on our campus together. We have over 98% of the student body involved.
So did they get it right? On to Nevada, South Carolina, Super Tuesday, and beyond to find out. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, Lexington, Virginia.
Coming up, one Christian rapper's song with a unique take on guns as the nation struggles with the idea of more gun control laws and the Second Amendment.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep as the world watches from the outside.
It's a big diplomatic tug-of-war here in the Middle East.
Go inside the story with Jerusalem Dateline.
Israeli archaeologists are talking about a discovery that could change the thinking about the Temple Mount.
Join CBN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell and get the biblical perspective on the events shaping the world.
What starts in Israel then ends up going to other places.
Watch Jerusalem Dateline Friday night at 9:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Virginia Governor Ralph Northam's push to ban the sale of assault weapons has failed after members of his own party balked at the proposal. Moderate Democrats joined Republicans on a Senate committee in rejecting the legislation. It would have prohibited the sale of certain semi-automatic firearms, including the popular AR-15 style rifles. It would have also banned the possession of magazines that hold more than 12 rounds. A popular Christian rapper is weighing in on the gun control debate with a unique song that talks about guns and God's sovereignty. I spoke with Faithwire's Dan Andrews for more on the song and its message. Dan, Christian rapper Kurt Kennedy is no stranger to tough topics. His latest song is all about guns. Break it down for us.
Yeah, really interesting song, and this one caught my eye, especially because it's coming from a Christian background, and it really wrestles with this idea of God's sovereignty, trusting God's sovereignty, that he will protect us and that he's got a plan, that everything's going through his fingers, but then also, the need for self-defense. So he kind of wrestles with this concept within the song and does it in a very provocative way. It's certainly going to raise eyebrows. When you look at just some of the lyrics of the song. But yeah, so he is kind of trying to find that space and diving into that issue. So it's not just like a pro-gun, yeah, let's go get our guns and shoot people. But it's more about this idea of how much do we trust God, and then how much do we, do ourselves in being prepared.
I understand the video features a cameo from author and pastor John Piper. What's his role in this?
Yeah, well, again, it's just a clip from Piper that kind of comes in at the end, and it's Piper talking about this very issue and sort of wrestling with it, saying he has no desire to kill somebody, but at the same time, what would he do if there was an intruder trying to harm, maybe say, his children? And so it's just an added layer to this after the song that sort of kind of gives some depth to the topic and shows people a little bit what he's trying to get at the heart of the matter.
How's the song being received, Dan, and what do you think it's going to accomplish?
Yeah, well, so far it's literally just coming out, so the reactions are kind of fresh. But I think it's going to receive mixed because this is a mixed issue among Christians. I think this is something Christians struggle with. We don't want to be violent people, but we also don't want to be irresponsible people and just sort of throw caution to the wind. So I think it's going to spark good conversation. We're already seeing some of that online. So that's kind of what I would hope. As for anything that we see, is that we get good conversation about it, about what God wants us to do in all of these sorts of situations. All right. Tell us what's coming up on Faith versus Culture tonight. Yeah, we're going to be talking a little bit about heart change versus behavior change. We can have a tendency to, as Christians, just as people, to just focus on the behavior, whether it's parenting or ourselves, like, I got to change this behavior, I got to do this, instead of scratching beneath the surface, getting at what's at the heart of the matter. And so we're going to focus a little bit on that tonight on Faith versus Culture. That's great. I remember growing up in church and singing a song, Change My Heart, Oh God. That's kind of the root of it all. That makes perfect sense. Yeah, good topic, that's for sure. Dan Andros of Faith versus Culture, thank you for your time and insights, sir. Thank you. Coming up, bringing Ethiopian Jews back to their biblical homeland. Their story when CBN News continues.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
And ministering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to CBNNewsChannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News. Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Welcome back to CBN NewsWatch. Business innovations, a glorious archaeological find, and the story of Ethiopian Jews making Aliyah. It's all in this week's Inside Israel with CBN's Emily Jones from our Jerusalem Bureau.
Welcome to Jerusalem for this Inside Israel report, where we tell you what's happening in Israel and the Middle East. Israel just approved airlifting 400 more Ethiopian Jews to their biblical homeland. They will soon join the 90,000 Ethiopians already living in Israel today. But Ethiopian Jews also face major challenges integrating into Israeli society. One organization called Karen Hanan Ainor is helping young Ethiopians bridge the gap by offering them scholarships.
Our motto is knowledge is force. Knowledge is force. When you have knowledge, you can continue, you can lead the community, people look up to you and want to be like you because you're successful. Everything starts in education. We're here to just push and push and push to get people into higher education, and this way have a big impact on their own community.
For 26 years, this organization has provided more than 4,000 scholarships to Ethiopian students in more than 50 fields of education. It's no secret that Israel is one of the most innovative countries in the world. That's why thousands of investors and entrepreneurs came to Jerusalem for the annual Our Crowd Summit. The summit puts Israel's cutting-edge and breakthrough technologies on center stage through workshops and demonstrations. This year's theme was Startups Going Beyond and featured the top Israeli startup companies that are innovating the tech field.
Our Crowd is the world's largest democratic venture investing platform. We allow people from all over the world to invest in great startups that are being built here in Israel and around the world. They're changing the world in areas such as cybersecurity, mobility, healthcare, ag tech. They're creating the next big thing. And today we have thousands of investors from 186 countries who've come literally on a tech pilgrimage to Israel to go look at these companies, to celebrate their achievements, and to evaluate potential investment.
This year's summit featured thousands of attendees from nearly 200 countries. Israeli archaeologists have uncovered an incredible 1,500-year-old church, and it stands out among all the rest. This Byzantine-era church was found near Israel's Ramat Beit Shemesh neighborhood. It was erected during the time of Emperor Justinian in 543 AD. The complex was once adorned with detailed mosaics and colorful frescoes, some of which you can still see today.
The Israeli Antiquities Authority, in partnership with the Bible Lands Museum in Jerusalem, already noted while the excavation was ongoing that this site is phenomenal. This church by far surpasses most of them by its size, its preservation, and its association to a martyr.
The church was dedicated to a mysterious figure known today as the Glorious Martyr. Archaeologists aren't sure who they were, but they definitely left their mark on the Holy Land. That's it for Inside Israel this week. We'll see you next time.
Archaeological stories are fascinating. Well, still ahead on this President's Day, a look at how the Christian faith shaped our founding fathers and our nation.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Watch Studio 5 Wednesday night at 9:30.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
George Washington once said we needed to follow Christ or we're never going to succeed as a nation. Today on President's Day, we honor him and other American presidents. And as Paul Strand reports, their Christian faith helped shape our country.
In locations all around colonial Philadelphia, founders who knew the God of liberty fought to form a nation of liberty. The Providence Forum's founder says George Washington personified this.
Washington said we needed to follow Christ or we're never going to succeed as a nation. That was not a minister. That's not a right-wing conservative fundamentalist. That's the father of our country.
The founders were overwhelmingly of the Christian faith, following Jesus Christ, a carpenter. And what's interesting is when they first met as a Congress, it was here in a place called Carpenter's Hall.
Here in 1774, they wanted to unite against Britain, but were divided by both denomination and regional customs, like Adams meeting Washington.
John Adams comes up to shake his hand, and George Washington steps back because Virginians don't shake hands. You know, they give a bow.
You might wonder how America began. Did it begin with rebellion, bloodshed? Well, actually, it began here in Carpenter's Hall with prayer.
Though that seemed almost impossible.
But all the different denominations believed that the others were wrong, and they couldn't fellowship with them. And this is the great accomplishment of Samuel Adams, called the spark plug of the American Revolution, who said, "I'm no bigot. I can pray with any man who loves his God and loves his country."
And he backed that up in Carpenter's Hall. Adams, a Congregationalist, chose a minister as prayer leader from a church diametrically opposed to his, the Anglican Jacob Duché.
And so he comes, Book of Common Prayer, leads in prayer, and he does it in the name of Jesus Christ. So we can honestly say the United States was begun with a prayer meeting.
As the Revolutionary War began, these colonials did great things in a new location.
The Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution began right there inside Independence Hall.
From there, the Continental Congress in 1776 sent Thomas Jefferson out to come up with the Declaration. Working nearby, he put together those famed words about life and liberty, but also against slavery.
Jefferson, although a slave owner, realized that they were making the world over again. They said something unique is happening here. And he said, we need to end slavery. It went to the Congress, and we're told while it was being debated, Jefferson was fuming in the corner because there's some 88 changes that were made to his document.
One of those changes was taking out Jefferson's idea to wipe out slavery. Still, opponents of the practice wouldn't give up, pointing out the Liberty Bell scripture from Leviticus.
Doesn't that old bill say proclaim liberty throughout the land to all the inhabitants thereof? And this became the great icon of the abolitionist assault against slavery. And they're the ones that named it the Liberty Bell.
Meanwhile, at the 1787 Constitutional Convention in Independence Hall, the founders accepted the Bible saying all men are sinners and in their depravity can't be trusted. Like when it came to representatives from large states, insisting the small states didn't need equal power in the new nation's Congress.
And the representative of the big state says, don't worry, we'll take care of you. And the little state representative says, we don't trust you. We believe in political depravity. And they said, we need a way that will check your power. And so a bicameral system was created.
Then the new U.S. Senate and House of Representatives started meeting here, neither able to pass anything without the other. On the other side of Independence Hall, Chief Justice John Jay presided over the first Supreme Court.
And he also turns out to be a president of the American Bible Society. So we see that people who love the Bible were also leaders in government.
Like Washington, who refused to give up in the bitter cold of Valley Forge and later refused to take a crown.
Some people say Washington is the greatest man in Western civilization for the two things he didn't do. He didn't quit when all was lost, and he didn't become king when all was won. And in doing both, he was following the very character of Christ, who persevered to accomplish his mission and only did it in the right way.
You can visit theprovidenceforum.org's self-guided Faith and Freedom Tour and see for yourself how the Lord, His liberty, and this land all fit together. Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from Philadelphia.
Wonderful. And to find out more about the Philadelphia Faith and Freedom Tour, go to cbnnews.com. That's going to do it for this edition of CBN News Watch. We hope you'll join us next time. Have a great day.